another episode of Student of the Gun Radio. I am your host, Paul Markle. And today, as we record this show, we are on the road. We are at a super secret location somewhere in the Republic of Texas. And we've got actually a special trip going on this weekend. And we've spent some time with our new friends here in Texas. I'm going to let Jared tell you a little bit about that in just a moment. But we want to thank all of our good friends out there. We want to thank Keltec Weapons. We want to thank Crossbreed Holsters. We want to thank our good friends at XS Sights, and they are also in Texas. Now, Jared's over there working the board in our super secret studio in the heart of the Republic of Texas. And he had a pretty good weekend. He's had a good trip, and he wants to tell you all about it. So I'm going to turn the microphone over to him and let him tell you about some of his new experiences.
I got to have a very cool experience this weekend. For the first time ever, I got to shoot actual precision long rifle shooting. And we went to a place in Texas called Rifles Only, and Jacob Bynum and his assistant instructor, Todd, pretty much coached me through from the basics. They started with the fundamentals, and basically, I guess with precision shooting, fundamentals really is the shooting. The mechanics just follows the fundamentals, from what I understand. But anyway, I got to take my first ever 1,000-yard shot, and I got to hit the target. And it was a pretty good feeling of accomplishment because I will never again take my first ever 1,000-yard shot with a precision rifle. So I'm very happy that they were able to coach me into that, and I was able to discipline myself and follow through with the fundamentals.
Yeah, we had a great time. We'd never been to the Rifles Only training facility. And what we did is we took a little trip down to Kingsville, Texas, and met with Jacob Bynum and his staff there at the Rifles Only training facility. Now, it says Rifles Only, but they do have several other training courses. They do pistol courses, they do carbine courses, they do Texas concealed carry courses, and they kind of do it all. They actually even have a really cool heliborne or helicopter gunners school down there where they actually lease a helicopter, and you go in and you actually get to practice helicopter shooting from a helicopter. But the Rifles Only facility, it's like 500-600 acres. It's right down. If you guys are familiar with your Texas geography or your Texas history or what have you, it's right next to the King Ranch. So if you guys know where the King Ranch is in Texas, you'll know that you'll pretty much know where Rifles Only is. But we really appreciate those guys opening up their facility to us. They have a bunkhouse. They have a full-service training facility, classrooms, ranges, short ranges, long ranges. And like Jared said, they have long ranges that go all the way out to 1,000 yards.
And you know what else I got to do?
What else did you get to do?
I got to shoot moving targets at 400 yards. And it was pretty cool because there's two separate ways to shoot moving targets. One is ambushing, which is basically you wait for the target to move into your reticle, and you shoot when it hits the mill dot that you need to shoot at.
Yeah, we got you. Basically, when you ambush it, you're ambushing the target, you're setting your lead. You've got a preset lead for that distance, and that's where the training comes in because you're dealing with wind factors, you're dealing with speed of the target, and and what distance was that, Jared?
400 yards.
400 yards. So Jared was shooting moving targets at 400 yards. And the second way besides ambushing is what?
You can
track them.
Tracking, was it called tracking?
Tracking, yeah.
But yeah, I didn't have as much success with the tracking as I did the ambushing, but they were both very fun.
Tracking a target at 400, a moving target at 400 yards is definitely an acquired skill. But that's something that you can actually do at a training facility is acquire skill. What? That's crazy talk, Paul. I was born with testicles, therefore I am a good shooter. Is that how it works, Jared?
That's what I've heard.
That's the theory. The theory is that if you were born in the possession of testicles, that you're an excellent driver, an excellent lover, and an excellent shooter.
So does it flip-flop there? If you were born a good shooter, does that mean you have testicles?
I don't know. I don't think anyone's actually born a good shooter. I think it requires a little bit of effort.
Oh, you mean they actually have to like train and practice?
Well, I don't know. Some people have been shooting their whole life. I like that. What did Jay Gibson say? He goes, I don't know how people tell me that they've been shooting their whole life. And it's like, when they were like an infant, they were out on the range training, or how's that work? But yeah, we had a fantastic time down at Rifles Only. We got to do some really cool long distance shooting. Jared, shot. We have a precision bolt action rifle made by Tactical Rifles. It's a 308, and he shot 100, 200, 300, basically every mark from 100 all the way out to 1,000. Now, a lot of you guys who are in the know, a lot of you precision rifle shooters or you long range rifle shooters know that 1,000 yards is kind of pushing it for the 308 cartridge. It starts to run out of gas, particularly depending on, where you are elevation wise and barometric pressure and all that. It starts to go subsonic somewhere. Usually between the 900 and 1,000 yard range, it goes subsonic. And if you know anything about rifle bullets, once they go subsonic, once they go below the speed of sound, that super awesome ballistic coefficient that they built into that bullet kind of doesn't work as well anymore. So what Jared was able to do is he used our Tactical Rifles bolt gun in 308. And yes, we shot it suppressed because we are civilized, and you can do that in free America.
You want to know something secret that I learned? Actually, I've known this, but it just reinforced the knowledge. The suppressor, if you shoot suppressed when you're taking a training class, you can hear the instructor the entire time and what they're saying to you as you're squeezing the trigger and everything like that. So it really helps. Yeah.
If you are in an area, if you live in one of the 39 free states where you can own a suppressor, it's just a matter of doing the paperwork, paying the fees, and doing it. And the great thing about a suppressor or a silencer or a can or whatever you want to call it is you can buy one and mount it on several different guns. Especially if you get a 30 caliber, buy a 30 caliber can, because a lot of people are like, well, if I buy a 30 caliber can, then I can't put it on my 223, right? No, you can put it on that as well. You just can't put a small hole on a big bore, but you can put a big can on a smaller bore. A lot of people don't think of that. So if I was going to buy only one single suppressor, I would buy probably a 30 caliber suppressor, either from Surefire or AAC or somebody like that. Then I could mount it on all my 30 caliber rifles, 223 rifles, 6.8 rifles, 260, you name it. So, but that Jared does bring up an excellent point, that when you're working with a coach, if you're working with a spotter, a coach, an instructor, if you're shooting suppressed, and it's ear safe, you don't have to be all muffed up and plugged, and it's just a better experience all around. If you do live in free America, I would highly suggest that you look into it. And just as a quick aside, people are like, well, I don't know what to do. Step number one, find a class 3 dealer in your area. Find somebody that does it for a living, that does transfer paperwork, and, book an appointment with them. Call the shop and say, hey, I'm thinking about buying a suppressor. What should I do? What do I need to do? And these guys, they'll walk you right through it. They've done it 1,000 times. They'll sit you down. They're like, okay, we got to do this, this, this. They'll do the paperwork, all that jazz, and get it going. And all you have to do is send in the check, the paperwork, and then wait for the bureaucrats in Washington to get off their rumps and send you back your tax stamp. But, yeah, I would highly recommend it. If you have the opportunity, the inclination, or you've been thinking about it, you're one of those guys, you're like, well, I've been thinking about it. Well, now is the time to stop thinking about it, because from the time that you say, yes, I'm going to do this, to the time that, like I said, the bureaucrats at that one 3-letter agency get off their butts and process your paperwork and get it back, it could be 5, 6, 7 months. So get the process rolling now, and then, basically just put it out of your mind. And eventually, one day you'll get that magical phone call from your class 3 guy. He says, it's Christmas. Your tax stamps are in. Come get your suppressors.
And on a quick side note, speaking of training, they've got this thing. They hold an event called the Berserker Games every year, and the next one's in March, I believe March 15th. I don't know if any of you guys have ever heard of it. If you've heard of Tough Mudder or Spartan Race or stuff like that, I guess it's just like that. I'm gonna have to look into it. And from what was explained to me, I would really be interested in competing in this event.
Yeah, the at Rifles Only facility down in Kingsville, like Jared said, they hold the Berserker Games. I think it's twice a year, once in the fall, once in the spring. But essentially, it's for like meat. It's like a Tough Mudder for meat eater gun guys. So if you guys want to learn more, just go to Rifles Only, those two words combined, .com. You can check it out. Give them a call. Tell them that Student of the Gun sent you. So we're going to move on to the rest of the show, or to what we're going to do actually is talk about our XS Sites Good Guy of the Week, because, hey, we like XS Sites. They like us. And Jared's going to go ahead and tell us what that's all about.
If you want to be the XS Sites Good Guy of the Week, what you need to do is ask us a question or write us in a question. You can send it to the email info@studentofthegun. But what we prefer is you go to the forums, and it makes it a lot easier for me to pick a question. And that's where I check first. So it's forums.studentofthegun.com, and there's a little thread in there that says Good Guy of the Week, and ask your question there. But anyway, so what do you win if you do that? You win an XS Good Guy pack, which includes hats, patches, shirts, etc.
Yeah, you say hats, it's like a hat, a shirt. They don't get like multiple hats and multiple shirts and multiple patches.
But not everybody gets the same hat, so there are hats.
Okay, all right. I just don't want them to think that they're going to be equipped with an entire wardrobe for the year.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry, I misspoke. Oh, but while I'm not misspeaking, they do not come with sights. So I just want to get that out there. Yeah,
the Good Guy package doesn't come with $200 tritium sights. You can get those later after you get your cool hat and shirt and patches and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, anyway, so this week's good guy is Jerry Black, and he says, hearing about the Pocket Survival Kit, my question is, basic first aid, Red Cross, training is a must. That I have. Where can I find quality next step training program, something that will equip me and my family to adequately handle a situation where this pack would be vital?
That's an excellent question, and, we've said this for years. Buying gear does not give you skill. You can't just purchase skill, through gear. And a lot of guys do that. They're like, well, I'm ready because I bought this pack and I bought this bug out bag and I bought this gun and I bought. Well, I bought doesn't mean you know how to use it. You need to find somebody that can give you that skill or help you acquire that skill. My good buddy Mitch Vance up in Oklahoma City has a company called the Mobile Training Team. And he does basically the equivalent of the TCCC program, which is a military traumatic medicine program that if you are smart enough to get a concealed carry permit, you are smart enough to take this class. It's not super secret ninja stuff. You can go to Tactical Response. You can check those guys out. And they have what they call Immediate Action Medical. That's a 2-day class where you'll learn how to use all the, traumatic life-saving gear. And we're talking about trauma. We want to remind you, we're not talking about doing surgery in the field or, things like that. We're talking about stopgapping a life-threatening injury. Now, what's a life-threatening injury? A life-threatening injury is something that could potentially make you dead before the ambulance has time to arrive. We're not, like I said, we're not talking about, burns or boo-boos or cuts or, I know some burns could be life-threatening, but, there's a boo-boo kit and then there's something that could actually make you dead, make you room temperature in the 15, 20 minutes it takes for the professionals to get there. And that is what traumatic medicine is all about. It's stopgapping, stopping that red life-giving fluid from dumping out onto the ground, because it needs to not be on the ground. It needs to be in your body. And how do we do that? Like I said, my buddy Mitch Vance, Mobile Training Team, does a good job. The guys at Tactical Response do a good job. And we also, through Student of the Gun, have a course that we've done through our Student of the Gun University called Beyond the Band-Aid. So check that out. Now, speaking of tactical response, Jared. It's December, and you know what that means. It means we've actually picked our winner for the 2-day free tuition to any tactical response class. We've sent the email out, and what you have to do and what we're waiting for, we're not going to announce the name because we always wait until the person that we sent the email to approves it, or they accept it, acknowledge it, approve it. And once they do that, then they will be declared the winner, and we'll tell you their name. But we want to thank the guys up at Tactical Response for participating with us for the last 3 months in this training giveaway, because training is important, training is vital, and we're not just trying to fill the bank accounts of these professional trainers. What you're trying to do is you're trying to gain some knowledge, some experience, and some skill, and take those life skills with you as you go on throughout your life. So if you're interested in training, if you are in the Midwest area, Kentucky, Ohio, Alabama, Mississippi, Georgia, whatever, because Camden, Tennessee is where they hold the classes. And they also do mobile training team stuff too, where they travel around the country. But just go to tacticalresponse.com, check out their courses and their calendar and so forth, and you can figure out if something's going to work out for you. All of my adult children have taken the fighting pistol class up there. Jared has taken fighting pistol and fighting rifle. I've taken several of their classes, and I highly recommend them. So stay tuned. Now, this brings me to a good point. When we give stuff away, the number one, you guys know that the way we pick the names, is we go to our list of active subscribers to our Student of the Gun newsletter. And if you're an active subscriber, if you're a Facebook follower, a Twitter follower, all that stuff, we've got a database because, hey, we're modern and it's 2013. But we check those out, and we will send you an email and say, congratulations, you're the winner, but you have 24 hours to confirm this email. Now, it's not really fair for our congratulations, you're a winner, to sit in your spam box for 5 days while everybody else out there is chomping at the bit wanting to know if they won. So if you can't check your email once every 24 hours, then I'm not really sure what to tell you. But make sure that you're doing that, and make sure when you sign up that you give an email address that you actually check once in a while. Because what have we got coming up, Jared? We just gave away training. We're getting ready to give away even more really, really cool stuff, and Jared wants to tell you just a little bit about it.
Now, before I tell you about it, speaking of emails and checking your emails, if you are a Good Guy of the Week winner, I need you to email me. That's Jared, Jarrad, at studentofthegun.com, and I need you to give me your address. I've got your name already, your phone number, and your shirt size. That way we can get the info to XS, and then they can send off your package. Now, for the giveaways, we've got some pretty cool stuff coming up, and it is December now, isn't it?
Yep, it's now December.
Where has this year gone? I don't know. But this month, we are giving away the Blackhawk flashlights. We got what exact model is that?
The Legacy.
The Legacy
it's the
flashlight.
Night Ops Legacy.
It's the Legacy, that name fits it because it's pretty awesome. But in addition to the Legacy flashlight that we're giving away from Blackhawk.
Remember, we're giving away 4 of them.
Yeah, 4 of them, 1 for each week. So if you want one of those, go to studentofthegun.com and sign up on their newsletter. And what else are we giving away? We've got an EOTech optic. Are we giving away one of those?
The combo? No, 2 of them.
2 of them.
We've got the HH2, and it's the optic magnifier combo.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. And it would be a good Christmas present for your husband if you are a lady, or you. And nobody has to know about it if, your wife doesn't need to know because you want it.
So yeah, just make sure that you guys you're signed up for the Student of the Gun newsletter if you haven't taken an opportunity to do that. And it's free. And even if you don't win a prize, you're still a winner because you get immediate access to our 1-box workout report. You get immediate access to training videos that we put up just for you guys. Every week you'll get a newsletter that says, hey, this is what's new and cool and what's going on with Student of the Gun. We remind you about the radio show, about the television show, about the latest article. So what is it going to cost you? It's going to cost you like 2 minutes of your time. That's the total investment that you've got. 2 or 3 minutes of your time max if you type slowly.
And if you guys win something from us, whether it be apparel or the optic or the flashlight or anything, we would appreciate it if you take pictures with your shirt on, or with where you put your stickers, or with the optic on your gun that you want to put it on, and post those to our Facebook, because we like to get feedback from our fans and our listeners.
Yeah, we've had some fantastic guys out there, guys and gals, who've gotten the good guy kits or what have you. And then they'll post their thing to the Student of the Gun Facebook so everybody can see. And that way you know that, yes, people really do win with Student of the Gun. Everybody who's a Student of the Gun's a winner, right, Jared?
Everybody is a winner. And we just actually had a dude post to our Facebook while we were on the road, and he was shooting in SoCal Desert, and he had a Student of the Gun shirt on. So let me know how that worked for you. And we appreciate the picture.
All right, let's get into the meat, because we want to get into the meat. And speaking of the meat, we have a Colorado update for you. Colorado update. Yes, Evie Hudak. Remember we talked about old Evie there, and we let you know that just like John Morse and Angela Giron, the people who still would like to remain free in the state of Colorado decided, you know what, we've had enough of you turds, enough of you elitists who are trying to just shove your freaking twisted liberal values, or I don't even know if you can use liberal and values in the same sentence, but your liberal ideas. We're tired of you trying to shove that down our throats, and we're going to follow the rule of the Colorado law, and we're going to get rid of you. You know, they got rid of Morse, they got rid of Giron. And now, if you guys are Student of the Gun followers, you know the story. And if you're not, let me set it up for you. Essentially, when in the state of Colorado, when you wish to recall one of your officials that is not listening to the people, there's a very specific way you do that. You get signatures. You present those signatures to, I think it's a state auditor. They verify them. And once the signatures are verified, then the governor, by law, has to set a date for a recall election. And then it's just like the original election. You know, you put up candidates and people go in and vote, and they re-vote essentially. Well, when it came time to get rid of that piece of work, John Morse, the guy who told his constituents in the Colorado Senate, don't listen to the people, just do what you know is right. Don't listen to all those people that are calling your office telling you not to vote for this legislation. You just do what you know is right. He kind of forgot about that whole representative republic thing. We don't send people to the state houses and to D.C. to decide for us what they think we want. They're supposed to be representatives of the public. And these turds, these elitists up there have just decided that you people are a bunch of peasants and you're too stupid to know what's good for you, so they're going to go ahead and tell you what's good for you. So John Morse decided he knew better than the people of Colorado what they needed, and Angela Giron decided the same thing. Well, the people of Colorado got together, they got the signatures, they forced the recall election, and those two turds, they dug their heels in. They took a whole ton of money from Nanny Bloomberg, outside money, and they lost. They got spanked hard. Well, now they're doing the same thing with Hudak, and we're talking about this on our show here. We said, well, have they learned? Have they learned their lesson? Because if and this is in any state, if a senator or a representative or what have you, they die, they quit, they step down, by law, the governor can appoint their successor. It's well within the rights of the governor to appoint their successor. And if Morse and Giron would have just said, okay, we're going to step down, then Lickenbottom, their Governor Lickenbottom, he would have gone ahead and appointed Democrats because he's a Democrat, to fill their seats. Well, he didn't, and they lost 2 seats. Well, if Evie Hudak loses a recall election, a Republican gets put in her place, then the liberal elitists lose control of the Senate, and they're really panicked about that. So somewhere in the back rooms, somebody got to the lovely and gracious Evie Hudak and said, here's the deal, sister. You're going to go ahead and resign. Because if you don't resign, you're going to lose. A Republican's going to take that seat, and we're going to lose our majority. So they got to her, and she came out and whined and cried and how unfair it was. And these extremist pro-gun people just blah, 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 blah. Anyway, so she's going to go ahead and resign. Lickenbottom's going to appoint her successor, and that person's going to serve out the rest of her term until the next election cycle. But what have we learned? What have we learned in Colorado? Now, I know this doesn't overturn the law that he signed. The law is still in effect. But it's apparently some of these liberal elitists have learned that, the people aren't as asleep as we thought they were. And they're scared. And they even told, and we talked about this a few shows ago when this Hudak thing came out, the Lickenbottom went public. You know, here's what we know. He wanted to be president. And what's his real name? Hickenbottom? Hickenlooper. This dude wanted to be the president. He wanted to be a Democrat presidential nominee. He thought he was going to do it. And he thought Nanny Bloomberg gave him a ton of money, an exploratory presidential campaign fund. And for those of you that aren't, hip on how politics work, before somebody can become the president, they need a ton of cash, and they go out and they test the waters and they test the voters and they see if there's any chance of them. And you guys know how Nanny Bloomberg likes to meddle in other people's politics, because it's not good enough for him to just totally screw over the people of New York City and New York State by extension. That's nowhere near good enough. He wants to screw over the entire nation. And he was really trying hard out there in Colorado. Well, when the Hudak thing came up, Lickenbottom went public and told Bloomberg, we don't want your money, and we would appreciate it if you would stay out of this. Which we find hilarious, because he couldn't take Bloomberg money fast enough. When the whole Morse and Giron thing was coming up, they couldn't take Bloomberg's money fast enough. Well, then they found out that Bloomberg was not a plus, that the people of Colorado, it's even funnier. He's like, what Lickenbottom came out and made a public statement about how the people of Colorado like to settle their own problems, blah, 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 blah. It's like, so maybe some of those guys out there in Colorado aren't so dumb as they look. So, bye-bye, Evie Hudak. Don't let the Senate door hit you in your fanny on the way out. All right, Jared, what are we going to talk about next?
I believe next we've got the Yale story. Have you guys heard about that? I know you can't answer me, but I like to ask you guys questions anyway. Let me read this real quick. Anonymous person calls with a gun, and I'm going to let Dad get into the meat of this story because he's very hip on it, and I'm just now reading through it. So. Okay,
yeah, this struck me this week, and I'm sitting there doing show prep, and I see a news flash come up, and it says, Yale lockdown lifted now that after campus shooting threat. And you're like, well, how many people got killed at Yale, and how many people were shot, and what was going on? Well, no one. Well, what do you mean no one, Paul? Well, apparently this is the story that we got from the original story, and we'll put the link up on studentofthegunradio.com for you guys so you can read it. But police dispatch received an anonymous phone call from a phone booth. I guess they still have phone booths at Yale. When's the last time you guys saw a phone booth?
Dude, I was walking around the hotel that we're staying at last night, and they had a phone bank.
Like a phone bank?
Yeah, like if your
payphone bank?
If your pager's not working, you can use the phone bank in the real Caesar's Palace. You know what I'm talking about?
Wow. But anyway, so to continue on, they received an anonymous call from a phone booth in such and such the 300 block of Washington Avenue or whatever. And the caller stated that his or her, it said the person stated that their roommate had a gun and was headed to the campus. And then they hung up. So the story comes out and it says person with gun sought. Police seek person with gun. Now, hold on. And the command that is issued immediately is shelter in place. Shelter in place. So you're not allowed to leave your home, your dorm, your apartment. Now, when this happened, it was right before Thanksgiving, and Yale's actually, there were no classes. They were on break. So there were no classes going on. They were like, vacation staff, what have you. But let's examine that for a second. And the big thing was actually, I think the original headline says gun threat closes Yale or forces shelter in place. Gun threat, not human being threat, not felon threat, not terrorist threat, but gun. There's an inanimate object out there somewhere, and it's threatening you, and you need to be scared. You might be thinking, well, I'm getting a little bit tired of being scared. I'm getting a little bit tired of the government telling me that I'm always supposed to be scared. And if you are, I'm right there with you. I'm beyond sick, disgusted, and tired of it. I'm tired of constantly being told that I'm a potential victim, and if I don't hide under my bed and let the Gestapo take care of things, then I'm going to be a victim. I need to shelter in place. Now, and the latest update to the story is, the warning, the shelter in place has been lifted, so you peasants can come out into the sunlight again. Well, let me tell you what. This shelter in place stuff is a bunch of crap. And if you don't have a problem with it, you need to stop and think about it for a minute. Folks, there are always bad people out there every day. Every single day. When you go out to wherever it is that you go in your life, if you go out into public, I can guarantee you that there will be felons that will pass you in your car. There'll be convicted felons that are in the Walmart with you, that are in the mall with you. And when you say, well, suspects at large, there's always a suspect at large. Do you think that every person that's been accused of a crime and that has an arrest warrant out for him gets arrested immediately and is currently incarcerated? Think again, folks. As a police officer, I can tell you there's always people at large. What do you think wanted posters are all about? You go into do they even still do wanted posters in the post office?
Do they even have post offices anymore? Well,
there's this place that we used to go back in the old days. It was called a post office. And they used to put pictures of people that were wanted for theft and violence and rape and kidnapping and drug, all that. And you would see their pictures at the post office. And then if you were in the grocery store and saw them, you would call the police and say, hey, my point is this. There's always a suspect at large. Wherever you are in America, there's always a suspect at large. So based upon there's a suspect at large, we need to force you, the peasant, to hide in your home. We need to force you, the peasant, out of your home, and we're going to come in and search it. And you say, but I'm pretty hip as to what's going on inside my house. Pretty sure that there's no felons in my house. Doesn't matter, peasant. Get out of your house. We're going to check it anyway.
Well, don't you know it's just in the name of public safety?
Oh, that's right. That's right. So right now, we can just flush the Constitution down the toilet because it's all about public safety. Now, riddle me this, Batman. How much public safety are we getting from the government? The public safety that was able to stop the Boston bombers, even though they knew those two guys were turds and should not have been in the United States? But we're just going to go ahead and give them student visas anyway. How many student visas have been issued out to people from terrorist nations? Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and use that term. And if you don't like it, too bad. Go listen to an NPR station and smoke some dope. There are terrorist nations, Iran, Libya, Syria. Those are terrorist nations. They are not our friends. They are not our buddies. Well, I know a person from Iran, and they're not all bad. Okay, yeah. And I bet you if I went back to 1946, I could find the neighbors of some SS or Stasi guys. They're like, Heinrich was a good boy, and he used to play in the streets, and he'd carry my groceries home for me. And, just because he's a member of the SS doesn't make him bad. I'm tired of it. And you should be tired of it, too. And I'm sick to death of this shelter-in-place nonsense. It's illegal. It's completely unconstitutional. You say, well, no, what is the state of emergency? Really? So every time there's one or two nut bars running around the landscape, we're going to shut down the world. We're going to tell you, the citizen. And whatever happened to the citizen can take care of business? Jared, who took care of business in Lexington and Concord in Massachusetts in 1775? Was it federal troops?
Wasn't it citizens that weren't federal troops? Oh, but what about in recent times? Okay, what about where the armed citizen saved the officer? We talked about that on the radio show. That was a citizen that was joining in, helping the officer, and he saved his life.
Well, okay. Oh, yeah. One of the things that we'd like to do on Student of the Gun is we do recommended reading, and one of our most recent recommended readings was Paul Revere's Ride, and I've consumed that book over the last week or two. And one of the things that really struck me, and if you've never got into the whole the shot heard around the world, like April 19th, the Lexington Green, Concord, Massachusetts, where the British regulars, the troops. Now, think about this. Ponder on this for a moment. The situation that we had in 1775 is we had an occupying power. And now remember, we were still colonies. We were still part of the British Empire. We weren't the United States of America that was being occupied by the British. They were still technically on the books part of the British Empire. Most people who lived in Massachusetts, New Hampshire, and, they considered themselves to be British citizens, but they considered themselves to be independent British citizens. And they had been taxed. They had the Intolerable Acts. They had the tax stamp, the T-tax, all that stuff. But even up to that point, from in the Boston Massacre in 1770, and, the Sons of Liberty came into being in 1765, even up to that point, they still hadn't got to a full-on revolution. They had not gotten to the point where they were exchanging rounds with the British troops, with the regulars. And people say, well, that was the army. They weren't police. Well, in 1775, the army was the police. That was it. So, well, what led to actual shooting? What led to the actual shooting war that started the American Revolution? Well, it was the fact that General Gage sent his troops, his police force, which was, the regular army, sent them out to what? Did he send them out to collect taxes? Did he send them out to check everyone and make sure that they were on the universal health care program? No. He sent his troops out specifically to seize and destroy any stores or arms that could be used for military purposes, guns and ammunition. The seizure and the attempted seizure of guns and ammunition that was what started the war. That's what started the shots flying. Now, who started it? Was it an organized military force fighting another organized military force? No. It was citizens. Average citizens, farmers and hat makers and, blacksmiths and coopers and all those kind of people. Those were the people that made up the citizen militias in Massachusetts. And they weren't paid soldiers. They weren't professional soldiers. They were citizens, but at the time, they understood it as their duty to be constantly prepared to protect who? Their families and their communities. And it really saddens me now to see Boston and Massachusetts having devolved from the spirit of fierce independence. You know, it was said and it was written that the British regulars and the officers, they detested the people of Massachusetts and of Boston for their stubbornness in their fierce independence, their desire to govern themselves, their unwillingness to accept the rule of the outside world, you know, of Britain and, you know, from London. And here we are in 2013, and the Massachusetts, and I think they still call themselves a Commonwealth, but they're no better than East Germany, Yugoslavia, Czechoslovakia. The people up there, let's face it, if you have to get a special card in Massachusetts that gives you permission to own a gun, and then if that card expires or some judge arbitrarily cancels your card, they can go to your house. The state can come to your house and seize your firearms. You got a problem up there. And that problem is spreading throughout the United States. We have people that somehow have been convinced that they are no longer allowed to be independent and free and to take care of themselves and their communities. And this shelter-in-place nonsense is a direct extension of that. You peasants can't protect yourselves. You shouldn't even try to protect yourselves. Ask yourself this. If you live in a free state and you got word that there was an escaped convict, you know, an escaped murderer had broken out of the penitentiary and he was somewhere near you, if you're a free man, if you live in free America, what's your first thought? I'm going to get a gun, or you should have a gun on you already. I'm going to get a big gun. I'm going to get a rifle, and I'm going to keep it near me. And I'm not going to let this escaped felon. Now, in some parts of the United States, their immediate answer is go hide. Now you say, well, Paul, not everybody can fight against felons. You know, some people are weak and some people are fragile. Very few people are so weak and so fragile that they can't defend themselves with a firearm. But they want you to think that. The shelter-in-place mentality and the shelter-in-place orders, what that does is that translates right into the servant, serf, peasant class mentality. You're not allowed to take care of your own safety. You shouldn't even be trusted to do so. Anytime the government decides so, you need to hide in your house, you know, go in your bedroom, shut the door, hide under the bed until we tell you you're allowed to come out. And you're like, well, you're being unreasonable. Bull crap. Don't talk to me about reasonable. I'm all out. I'm fresh out of reasonable, and shelter in place is tyranny. Get it through your head. It's indoctrinating you to be a servant, to be a peasant. The American people were not born to be servants, serfs, tax slaves, or peasants. It is time for you to be a little uncomfortable and to take charge of your own life and of the destiny of your own community. And if you don't like it, and if this hurts your feelings and you want to talk about plinking or trap shooting, find another show. And I was going to begin this show with a warning, but I'll go ahead and give it in the middle. You can tell your friends. Warning. If you want to listen to Student of the Gun Radio, you need to be prepared to think, to apply analytical thinking. You need to be prepared to be a little bit uncomfortable. If you think you're going to come here and I'm going to rub your shoulders and tell you everything's all right, go back to sleep. You're wrong. Wake up. You've been sleeping long enough. Jared, what do you have to say?
I'm awake. And I heard something about rubbing shoulders. Are they going to give a massage or something?
Really?
Sorry. Okay. Anyway, moving on to the next story. We've got the title says, let me get back up there real quick. Erroneous gun reports cause here. Erroneous gun reports cause chaos at LAX. And this is a pretty disturbing story, I guess you'd say. I'll let Dad get into it, but I read through it real quick, and I don't even know what to say about it. I would have to think for a little while.
Well, what's going on? This goes directly. This ties in with our Yale story. This ties in with our Yale story about Chicken Littles, and the whole Yale thing is, we think we saw somebody with a gun, and then after the initial report came out, they said, well, it might have been a police officer in plain clothes. They don't know. We're not sure, but just the chance that there's a person with a gun. Dude, let me tell you what, here in free America where we are, there's always a person with a gun. That's the way it's supposed to be. Yeah,
and this story basically would stem from people not being used to normal citizens, responsible citizens, having a gun on them. This next story about it, there wasn't even a gun involved. Yeah, there wasn't even a gun involved. But what I'm saying is, if there wouldn't be anonymous reports of a man with a gun, if they had normal everyday citizens walking around with guns every day, so they'd be used to seeing that, and they would be able to determine whether or not there was a man with a gun,
or what a gunshot actually sounds like.
Yeah, or that too. Yeah.
In this LAX story, it turns out that a woman lost control of her vehicle and at like terminal number 5 and crashed her van, hit another woman and crashed it. And somebody reported inside the terminal that they thought they heard gunshots. And so it sent the whole world into a panic. They evacuate the terminal, run people out, and they're running through, the Gestapo's running through, looking. What? Because someone thought they heard a gunshot. And then, of course, after this Chicken Little panic situation here, what do they have to do? Well, they ran everybody out. Now, before all you peasants and comfortable slaves are allowed to get on the flight that you paid it, and right now we're in a situation in America where the airlines treat you like they're doing you a favor. I'm pretty sure it's a service industry, and that I paid you money to get, and you're providing me a service of flying me from here to there. But you're basically treated like a servant, like a serf, a peasant. You're lucky that we even let you on this plane. Oh, and give us your money, and give us even more money because you want another bag. But they had to run all these people out, evacuate them, and then when they bring them back in, what do they got to do? And so they got to put like over 1,000 people had to go back through security before they could get on their planes, and most of them missed their flights and their connections and all that jazz. And what was it over? Some dimwit woman, for whatever reason, crashes her van, hits somebody, and car crashes happen, but it sends them into like lunatic panic mode.
And it was a combination of the car crash happened, and then after the car crash happened, they got an anonymous call saying that there was a gunman reported. And I don't know, I wasn't there obviously, so I don't know the whole story, but the fact is that there were pictures from people that were actually in the airport showing police with their guns drawn. And who were the guns drawn at? Who were they pointing their guns at?
The anonymous there may be a suspect at large. A
person with a gun. Describe this person. There's a lot of people.
That's the funny thing about the Yale story that we really didn't touch on too much is they put this story out that police are searching for, and the description is person with gun. What the heck kind of a be on the lookout is that? If you're actually looking for a person for a potential killer, murder, threat, you might want to give a physical description, like, 6'1" white male with a dark beard and glasses. No, they say they're searching for a person. So we, as the peasants, are so weak and inept, we can't even be trusted with the physical description of this potential killer. All you need to know is there's a person who might have a gun, and you need to be afraid, and you need to hide in your house. Now, this next one, we're going to jump into this because we're getting long on time.
Yeah, I was just about to say, if there's no other points that you have to make on that story, this actually feeds very well into this story here.
Yeah, this actually happened a while ago, but one of our Facebook followers reminded us about it, and we saw it, but we didn't talk about it before. Well, it turned out that police in Connecticut went full on, riot gear mode because they got a report of a man with a gun, a rifle, walking near a school. Right? Somebody called this in. They're like, holy cow, panic buttons, whoop, shelter in place, send out the SWAT teams. And what did it turn out to be? It wasn't a man with a rifle. And this report came in, and it was last December, but this illustrates the mentality of humans out there right now. It says he was wearing a black cap, a black dark cap, and a black coat. And, well, it's December. It's cold in Connecticut in December. And then police said that it looked like he was carrying a sword. And then they're like, well, it wasn't a sword, it was an umbrella. And they arrested the dude and charged him with what? Disturbing the peace or a breach of the peace? So
if you can convert airsoft guns quickly into and easily into fully automatic, fully functioning weapons, can you convert an umbrella into a sword or maybe a pistol?
Well, I don't know. Maybe we should ask Special Agent Calvin how you can convert an umbrella into an assault weapon. So, but let's take a look at this. Here's the mentality of people in America today. The Chicken Little mentality is a man is carrying an umbrella. They phone it in as a man with a rifle. Then the police see, and they're like, well, no, it wasn't a rifle, but we thought it might have been a sword. And they're like, well, no, it wasn't a sword. It really was an umbrella. And because someone called in a panic, they arrest the dude for carrying. So be aware, if you are in possession of an umbrella in public, someone might see you, be scared, call the police, and you'll get arrested in Connecticut because you caused a breach of the peace by being in public in possession of an umbrella.
Well, maybe it was a black one, so it can be an assault umbrella.
It probably was a black assault umbrella, so you got to be careful for those, and you have to watch out.
Should have been carrying a rainbow one.
Oh.
But my question is, when they found out that it was an umbrella, they let him go, right?
No, he was arrested. According to the story, even after they determined that, yeah, it was a man with a black coat and a black hat carrying an umbrella, they still arrested him. What? We've got a quote from you guys here, and this goes back to the citizens thing. And in Massachusetts, when describing the citizens militia in Massachusetts, it was described as this. It said, they fought as men fighting. They considered fighting a dirty business that had to be done from time to time by good men in a world of evil. That's it. The people of Massachusetts in 1775, they didn't view fighting or warfare as something glorious, as something that you aspired to. They viewed it as a dirty business that had to be done from time to time by good men who lived in a world of evil. Put that coin in your pocket and take it with you. Now, folks, we've covered a lot of ground here. Like we said, we are currently recording this on the road in the glorious Republic of Texas. We know that Texas isn't perfect, but it's better than most.
No, we're not driving and recording.
Yeah, we haven't quite mastered the technology of setting up the studio in the car, in the vehicle as we are. Now, we may do that in the future.
I'm open to suggestions.
How we can do that? How can you eliminate road noise from the studio?
Duct tape and the road noise will be easy. It's just getting the microphone to stay.
Now, folks, don't forget about Student of the Gun Television. It is the show right now is airing Sunday nights at 7 on Dish Network Channel 266. That's Hunt Channel TV. And if you can't watch that, then that's no problem. No big deal. You just want to go over to studentofthegun.com and you can watch the TV shows. You can read the articles. You can find out what's going on. What's the latest giveaway? You're like, I heard these turkeys at Student of the Gun are giving away something really cool. What's that all about? You can check that out as well. We are the studentofthegun.com is what, Jared? It's the gateway. It is the gateway to all things Student of the Gun. And keep up the good work out there. Keep up the letters. Keep up the Facebook postings. And, and it doesn't even have to be a question. You're like, hey, did you guys check? Did you guys see this? Sometimes we have, but we get a lot of things. You guys are our eyes and ears out there in the hinterlands, in Maine and Massachusetts and in Washington and Oregon and Texas. You guys are our eyes and ears. So let us know what you're seeing. And hey, if you want to check us out, you can always check us out at studentofthegun.com, Dish Network. You can listen to us here. And if you are an iTunes listener, thank you for being out there. You guys, hey, if you're listening to the sound of my voice right now, I want to tell you something. Pat yourself on the back unless you're driving, because you're doing a fantastic job. Student of the Gun, we're constantly in the top 10 in our category. You guys make our episodes number 1 each week. You are doing a fantastic job. Tell your friends, tell your neighbors. And if you have the time, I know that you're a busy person, but if you got the time, take a moment and please go ahead and rate the show, because they do track that really hard on iTunes. Jared, you want to say goodbye to everybody?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, if you wanted to see something really cool, as in a fire extinguisher shotgun shooting at flying targets, go to studentofthegun.com, and we've got in this week's episode, we've got the combat clays segment. And in addition to the combat clays, you can watch Dad over there running through the fighting rifle course with his Mosin Nagant that has a bayonet on the end of it, and it's actually pretty cool. It was pretty entertaining watching him run it, and he can run that gun. He won't tell you that, but I can, and I'm going to let him go ahead and give his little closing saying here.
All right, folks, thank you again for joining us here at Student of the Gun Radio. I am your host, Paul Markle. We have the intrepid Jared Markle over there working the boards, and he's a hardworking young man. Now, remember, you're a beginner once, but you should be a student for life.